how do you specifically, like, I just like to learn from different people's aspects of life, and I know that, like, what I do in my life isn't always going to work for you, but I would still like to ask, what do you do specifically that helps you with teaching these ideas to your children? Like you said earlier, I know you mentioned that, like, she was home today and she you watched one of the Bill Cooper episodes with her, and I wanted to know, like, how else do you go about making sure that you instill these values into your children so that we can make sure that that this fire that we have within us that's really getting us to want to rise up doesn't lose its spark, doesn't lose its luster after we actually do make the changes in the world? How do we maintain this eternal vigilance past our generation, I guess, is the question for you.
Well, you know, one of the biggest things that I've talked about TV. I've talked about how dangerous I believe that the television is. And when I say the television in general, I'm really talking about cable, satellite TV, you know, Comcast, Charter, whatever, Sky News, BBC, CNN, Fox News, the indoctrination and the propaganda. You know, John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. wrote an article in 1961 about how TV would become one of the most, you know, politically active weapons ever used in the history of the world. And it's a really good article, and it's very hard to find. I have it bookmarked. I'll try to post it later on Facebook and let you read it. You know, I've Google searched it several times and not been able to find it, so I think it was in Newsweek, so on and so forth. But the reason I bring the TV up is because I don't have cable in my home. And that's an example. And when I talk to my child and they say things to me about, this is my favorite show or that's my favorite show, instead of trying to make fun of it or pick on her about it or say the first thing that pops into my head, because sometimes it's really easy for me to say things like, and I'm not speaking to her, I'm speaking in general, say things like sheeple, zombie, slave, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of people take offense to that. And if you take offense to that, I'm probably talking to you. But anyway, I digress.
That's what Bill Cooper used to say all the time too, and I totally feel it's correct. Like, if you're angry by what I say, it's likely I'm talking to you, because you're not going to be directly offended by me calling you a sheep. If you're like, well, I'm not actually a sheep, so you can kind of bite me.
You know, a really smart man I'm friends with told me one time, you don't dance in the shoes that don't fit, Kevin. So, but yeah, no, speaking about my child, you know, last year I went on a diet and I started losing a lot of weight. And you know, when we go to the grocery store, I buy a lot of organic. I buy a lot of fruit. I buy a lot of vegetables. I pick up some junk food from time to time. Yeah, some nights we sit around and, you know, eat a bowl of ice cream together, and we have that kind of camaraderie. But I let her see me, you know, live the way that I tell other people. You know, I stopped. You know, I had a bad habit to where I would drink alcohol all the time. I stopped doing that. You know, I had bad habits to, you know, where I was not exercising. I was very lazy. But I wanted, you know, when my daughter gets home from school, we go on a 2-mile walk. We've been doing that about 3 or 4 days a week. I pack her lunch every day, and when I pack her lunch, I try to pack a lot of organic stuff. I'll try to feed her well. Yes, I let her eat a pizza every now and then. I don't think that makes me a bad person. It makes me a parent, you know. But I control the things that she's watching and the things that she's reading, and I don't have a lot of control over the MP3 player. You know, she's listening to, when I was her age, I was listening to pretty crappy music myself, but, you know, we have to understand the way that affects children. The adolescent brain is not an adult brain. It is not fully developed into a comprehensive critical thinking mass like ours is. And with that being said, some adults don't have that either, but like I said, I digress. But I try to let her see me, you know, excuse me, let me rephrase. I don't try to let her, I do let her see me. And I do these things in front of her. You know, I brush my teeth in baking soda. I don't use fluoride toothpaste. You know, I rinse my mouth out with hydrogen peroxide. I've started putting a couple of drops of hydrogen peroxide in her juice every morning. She's like, Daddy, why do you do that? Well, honey, it oxygenates your body and your bloodstream, and it's good for you. And, you know, why do you brush your teeth in baking soda? Because fluoride is bad. Why do we only drink filtered water from our refrigerator, the double reverse osmosis? Because this tap water that we that comes out of this spigot is fluorinated. Well, what's wrong with what's fluoride, Daddy? What does that do? Well, this is what it does. You know, why do we eat salads instead of pizza every day? Well, honey, this is how it affects the body. Why do we have to go walking every day? Because, you know, cancer, high blood pressure, heart disease, and diabetes, and anything else you can name runs in our bloodline, and it's from people that are eating this, you know, they're eating the food and drinking the water and watching the TV of the slaves. This is how they perpetuate slavedom, you know. That's a Primm word, by the way, slavedom. I don't know if you like that or not, but this is how they perpetuate slavedom in our culture, you know. It's in everything. It's in what we eat, it's in what we drink, it's in what we watch on TV, it's in what we think is cool. When I was her age, man, everything I saw on TV told me what to wear, told me how to dress, told me how to talk, told me how to be. I let this culture, this society tell me what to believe. And I'm not living that life anymore. I've chose a different path, and I can't get on the radio, online, on Facebook, and the YouTube videos and tell people to change when I haven't changed anything. So I've done a lot of little things in my life to change the way that I eat, live, drink, sleep, act, exercise, operate, the way I speak, my tone of voice. I preach love. You know, I tell people, have no fear. Does that mean I have no fear? Absolutely not, it doesn't. Does that mean I'm always a loving, kind, considerate, generous, compassionate person? Absolutely not. I get mad. I get angry. I say things out of anger. I'm human. I'm a human being. I am not out here to be anybody else's role model, but the people that live within the four walls of my home. These are the people. My children are the ones that I want to affect the most. You know, I've got thousands of friends online, thousands of people that download the shows on the internet, that send me emails, send me hate mails, send me, you know, hey man, good job, I enjoyed this, thank you for saying that. You know, that's all good, that's all fine, that's all dandy, but I would rather my children grow up and follow the example that their father's setting for them, and it's not easy. It's not cheap either.
Yeah, I know. Just eating healthier foods winds up actually costing quite a bit of money. You can't, you can just look at if you walk into even just a Whole Foods versus say an Acme or whatever other, a Giant or whatever, it's a very different atmosphere in every facet. The food seems fresher. The prices are way higher. It's nothing that we really want to see on a regular basis. It's always something that we want to take into our own hands. But it's very difficult when we are kind of trapped by the choices that we have around us, considering there are so many of these Walmarts and Targets and all these other giant massive structures of providing for us, and it's so out of our hands in so many fashions before it gets to us that it surprises me that so few people have control over, even you're just talking about food in their life. It's they're even just the timing on our lives are so stressful that sometimes we can't eat right, and we wind up wandering off just for those couple of moments into a McDonald's or something horrible for us, and it's just well, I just need something in my stomach so I don't pass out right now, and you make that sacrifice, and then you're oh, I wish I hadn't done that later on. So there are definitely some reasons to want to live a healthier lifestyle, but unfortunately there's this expense attached to that, and it's why is it that you have to be richer to be able to live a better life? It's not. It doesn't seem very fair to me in a country that supposedly prizes justice as much as it says it does.
Well, there's a really good quote that I think about daily, and Frederick Douglass said, "Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave." And the reason I bring that up is because if you drink every day of your life and your liver ends up failing, you did it to yourself. there's enough information out there for everybody who smokes, and I smoke cigarettes, that if you smoke your whole life, you've got a good chance of dying from complications of that. But you did it to yourself. If you overeat and you gain a lot of weight, or if you eat the wrong kind of foods and you get diabetes, if you do any of these things, there's consequences, you know. And I bring all this up because it's the knowledge. It's the knowledge of self. You have to understand, you have to try to understand if you're going to be a better person and survive and live in this world and thrive physically, mentally, spiritually, and so on and so forth, that what you're doing has consequences. There's an endless ripple effect from every conscious decision that you make. And we have to, I want people to understand, accountability is not a fictitious word. Your government tells you you're not responsible for the 1 million-plus Iraqi civilians that have been murdered under the Bush regime and the Obama regime. I say you are accountable. I'm accountable. I'm accountable for this because I paid taxes during those years. I paid into the war machine. I gave that money. I did have the support the troop pin on. I did practice willful ignorance. I was a blind patriot at one point in my life. I did want to believe the lies that this government told me. I am complacent, and I practice apathy, and I practice willful ignorance, and there was consequences for that. And there's consequences for everybody out there that can hear my voice. If you know, Albert Einstein said, those who know have a responsibility to act. Guess what? That's a call to duty, people. That's a call to duty. It means you have a responsibility. You have a duty to perform once you are knowledgeable, once you are in the know. I've got a good friend of mine online, and I think their Facebook wall post says something about, oh crap, I lost it, Kevin. Go ahead. I couldn't think of it real quick.
When we need it the most sometimes, and it's okay.
No, it was your wall, wasn't it? What does your Facebook wall say at the top? Those 5 little boxes. You've got something up there right now, don't you?
Oh yeah. It's hang on. I just want to get it right. How big do the problems have to get before you start paying attention?
There you go. That's it. That's the one I was thinking about.
Yeah, I actually got that from someone else, and they get it from someone. They ripped it off of someone else as well too. They told me, which is the fun part about it. Like it's amazing the way ideas spread virally and so beautifully. I mean, like thoughts really are like a virus, and that's why like. It's so scary when it comes to that brainwashing machine that we have in our living rooms, and like how do you have you come across anyone that's actually like criticized your TV burning episode over environmentalism? Because someone mentioned that on my live today actually when I
absolutely. Hey, I'll tell you a funny story, and I'm honest with people. I'm very honest with. The day that I filmed that video, I filmed it over the family land that I grew up on. My brother still lives over there, and he helped me film it. And we went out there and we did that. Now, that was a working TV. That wasn't an old beat-up TV, pawn shop TV. That was a TV that I had in my bedroom that hadn't been plugged in 2 years. And I got up one morning and I started staring at it, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to burn this thing today. I woke up just staring at it with just pure hate and vision in my eyes, thinking, you know what, today's the day, I'm going to blow this thing up. The reason I bring it up is because later on that day, after we filmed and edited the video and put it on YouTube, my brother asked me if I would keep his daughter for a few hours while he ran and did some errands, and she's an infant. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And on his way out the door, he's got a flat screen TV. And I stopped him at the door. I said, hey, I know you have to, turn, 5 TV changers on to operate this thing. Will you turn it on before you leave? And he just busted out laughing. He's like, oh, you want to watch the slave before I leave. And I started laughing. I was like, well, dude, I'm going to be here for 4 hours by myself with a kid. Yeah, I'm going to flip through and see what was on. And he actually had a movie DVR, and I ended up watching, this 3-hour, mini-series or some crazy stuff. But I thought about that when he said that, because I was like, yeah, you're right, But I thought it was funny.